Hi guys. So, after the top 10 best list of the year, as always, we gotta do the top 10 worst movies of 2024. Like I said in my best, I haven't seen every horror film this year, so there's definitely some that are probably really bad that I have not seen. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm glad I haven't seen those if that's the case, because I have some really shitty movies on here, and ugh. Before I get to the top 10, I'm going to give some quick dishonorable mentions, which would be Founders Day, The Crow, Elevation, and Baby Girl. So, now we can get started with the top 10 worst horror films of 2024. So, coming in at number 10, we have Tarot. So, this is a movie that I know a lot of people would probably put higher on their list. So for me, this movie is not good, and I definitely didn't like it, hence why it's on my top 10 worst. But I'm gonna be honest, it did have decent looking creature designs and a couple of like cheesy fun moments, even though they're very short. But other than that, there wasn't much else this film had to offer. It's got bad acting, a bad script, just really generic and uninspired, with absolutely nothing new or creative or nothing to make it interesting aside from the decent looking creature designs. But even that just wasn't enough for the movie, and the film isn't scary, and there wasn't anything that could keep the film interesting or engaging at all. It comes in at number 10. At number 9, we have Trap. Now, this is a movie that I found to be insanely disappointing. It was an interesting concept, but the overall film was super predictable, infuriatingly predictable at that. It was a slog, it was boring, and really bad ending. I thought very frustrating ending, and the film was it frustrated me my entire time watching it, and I just didn't have a good time with it. So, Trap at number 9. At number 8, we have The Front Room. Now, this movie I really wanted to like since I love religious horror and I love A24 horror films, but this film was very misleading from the trailer because instead what I got was a horror film about a crazy old lady and poop. Is this movie a joke? I mean, I will say it's got really good acting in it, so there is the positive for it, but other than that, I struggled to remain interested throughout a majority of the runtime. There was nothing there to keep me engaged or holding on to it, and especially from the fact that the trailer really misled the audience, and just the absolutely unnecessary gross out poop moments that didn't need to be there just pulled me away from the film even more. So I have to put it on the worst list. So The Front Room at number 8. So at number 7, we have a film that you can't really classify as a horror film, and I don't even have a review for this film, so I apologize for that. And I was debating if I should leave this film off the list and just give it a dishonorable mention. But I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to put it on the list anyway. And that's Craven the Hunter. This film is just a really boring ass action movie that has a couple of okay, like, gore stuff in it. But aside from that, nothing else. It's boring. It wasn't interesting. And it's just 2 hours of my life flushed down the toilet. At number 6, we have The Strangers Chapter 1. Now, I was decently looking forward to this film because I love the original Strangers. But this movie is a complete rehash of the original Strangers with nothing new, interesting, or anything scary that made the original Strangers so special. They didn't bother to try anything new or make anything scary. They literally just, like, had the most generic home invasion script and threw the Strangers masks on. If you took the Strangers masks off and replaced it with something else, this movie could have been called anything else. I'm holding on for hope that the next two in this new trilogy are going to be better, but as for right now, expectations are very low with this boring movie that I feel like had potential, but they just took everything that the Strangers did and just made it bad. That's what it was. At number 5, we have Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2. So, this film is definitely nowhere near as bad as the first Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, which was my least favorite film of 2023. This one is still ass, though. It's got some okay gore scenes, and there's that, and a okay lead actor. But aside from that, there is nothing else that this film had to offer for me. It was boring for the most part, aside from the decent gore scenes here and there. But aside from that, it was boring, and I don't like these kind of movies. I just don't. I am hoping that they can, throughout this whole cinematic universe that they want to create, that they are going to improve in quality. I'm hoping for that, but these aren't my kind of movies, and they never will be. They probably never will be, unless they actually do something really cool with it. But with the type of IP that they're trying to capitalize on, I highly doubt it. And the movie's still ass. So Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2 at number 5. At number 4, we have The Exorcism. So I was mildly interested because of the connection the director has with the original Exorcist and Russell Crowe, who was in The Pope's Exorcist last year, which I surprisingly quite enjoyed. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it for what it was. This film was it was a swing and a massive miss. It was tried to be something special, but then they executed it in such a boring way. And the actual exorcism stuff in the movie is really cliche, really boring, and the movie all around was just a big waste of time. And I did not have a good time with this movie at all. And major missed opportunity here. Could have been something cool, could have been a cool, unique spin on the exorcism subgenre, but they just decided to be boring with it. At number 3, we have Imaginary. So this film, let me get the most obvious out of the way. The script to this movie is fucking horrible. The script to this movie is offensively bad to writers in every way. It is some of the worst dialogue I've ever heard in my entire life. And as for the rest of the film, the horror sucks, the movie is boring, and it just wasn't interesting, and felt very childish at times also. So definitely is well deserving of the number 3 spot on the list. So at number 2, we have Night Swim. Now, I was debating whether or not I should put Imaginary at number 2 or Night Swim at number 3, because I do think Imaginary is a more offensively bad movie. But however, I was significantly more bored watching Night Swim. This movie takes a already pretty bad concept and just makes it even more uninteresting and even more boring and even less scary. And I just hated every second that I was watching this. So definitely don't watch it. Night Swim at number 2. So at number 1, the number 1 worst horror film of 2024 is a piece of shit that could have only been generated by AI. Is that your hint for what it is? Did you guess it? Yep, Afraid. The worst horror film of the year for me was Afraid. This movie, I had zero expectations from based on the trailer, and the movie did go in a different direction than what they showed in the trailer, but I'm going to be honest, it was even worse than what they showed in the trailer, because the movie makes no fucking sense. The film was boring for being super short. For an hour and 25-minute movie, I was just waiting to get out of there. I wanted to walk out of the movie. Terrible script. Some of the lines of dialogue in here were honestly so bad that they made me laugh. But that doesn't change anything. Movie's still awful. Doesn't make any fucking sense. And I was just so infuriated the entire time I was sitting in a theater watching this movie. I honestly can't believe I saw it in a theater. I was just infuriated the entire time I was watching it, and I couldn't wait to leave. And I was bored for the hour and 25 minutes, and I couldn't wait to leave the movie theater. This movie was awful. Not a recommendation at all in the fucking slightest. It was terrible. It was a painful watch. So Afraid, you most definitely deserve the number 1 spot on the worst films of 2024. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. And I would like you to leave your top 10 worst horror films of the year in the comments. And as always, subscribe to me to see more horror and thriller reviews.